1035-960 by Humongous. Quote, "The most dangerous and successful conspiracies take place in public, in plain sight, under the clear, bright light of day, usually with TV cameras focused on them." Unquote. L. Neil Smith. Conspiracy theory, a phrase as common as corrupt politician, greedy banker, or pedophile priest. Like so much patois, few consider from whence this jargon derives. The term conspiracy theory originates from a CIA memo produced April 1st, 1967, in response to negative public reaction regarding the Warren Report. Recall the Warren Commission was created to determine who assassinated President Kennedy. As an aside, aren't we all supposed to be equal? Says so right there in the Declaration of Independence, doesn't it? Quote, "All men are created equal," unquote. If such is the case, why is it when congresspeople, kings, presidents, princes, princesses, and senators are slain, they're quote-unquote assassinated? When plebeians like you and I are killed, however, we're quote-unquote murdered. Just thinking out loud, which is what writing is. Anyway, the Warren Commission provided its conclusion, the Warren Report, to President Johnson on September 24, 1964. 3 days later, these results were bequeathed to the public. In response, 46% of the populace would buy a home on the caldera of an erupting volcano before they bought the bullshit that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Such sat as well with the CIA as a starving, untrained feral dog let loose in a chicken coop. Quote, "This trend of opinion is a matter of concern to the U.S. government, including our organization. Moreover, there seems to be an increasing tendency to hint that President Johnson himself, as the one person who might be said to have benefited, was in some way responsible for the assassination. Innuendo of such seriousness affects not only the individual concerned, but also the whole reputation of the American government. Our organization itself is directly involved. Among other facts, we contributed information to the investigation. Conspiracy theories have frequently thrown suspicion on our organization." Unquote. Hence, government developed a strategy for countering the truth whenever somebody astute enough to realize they were being fucked shouted from the highest hilltop. This tactic was outlined in a memo known as Central Intelligence Agency Document Number 1035-960. As a mission statement, this memorandum boldly trumpets that reality, in the form of public dissent, is to be discounted and marginalized. Quote, "The aim of this dispatch is to provide material for countering and discrediting the claims of the conspiracy theorists, as to inhibit the circulation of such claims." Unquote. According to 1035-960, disparaging anyone speaking the truth is to be accomplished via the following tactics. Quote, "Discussing the publicity problem with liaison and friendly elite contacts, especially politicians and editors." Unquote. This equates to using conventional media to spread government propaganda. If bureaucracy wants the public to believe Oswald killed Kennedy, the press needs to broadcast such to the masses. After the CIA memorandum was published, multitudinous mainstream news sources reiterated the government wrote regarding JFK's murder. Full Sunday spreads in major newspapers were devoted to seeding the public with the quote-unquote official verdict. These articles featured the nomenclature and rhetoric specifically outlined in the CIA Memo 1035-960. Terms the likes of conspiracy, conspiracy theories, conspiracy theorists, and no new evidence were employed in these news editorials. These phrases come verbatim from the 1967 Central Intelligence Agency document in question. Mainstream news stories were replete with the concept that collusion beyond Oswald acting alone would be too broad in scope to conceal from the populace. One of the modalities the CIA memo suggests in regard to discounting those speaking the truth is a method we hear and see ubiquitously today. Quote, conspiracy on the large scale often suggested would be impossible to conceal in the United States. Unquote. It's too big to cover up is the lack of logic promulgated here. Considering the fact that government successfully hides black ops projects from the populace all the time, this argument holds no validity. Stealth aircraft, in particular the F-117 Nighthawk and B-2 Spirit, were not public knowledge until the late 1980s, even though the stealth program was begun in 1974 with Have Blue. Do you know what government is currently working on at Area 51? The invention of radar was successfully concealed from the populace before bureaucracy decided to reveal it. The Manhattan Project, via which the global nuclear arsenal has been made reality, was kept secret for years. This, even though hundreds of thousands of people were working on this nuclear nightmare. How many citizens knew the government was flying live nukes over their heads 24 hours a day for decades under operations Chrome Dome, Hardhead, and Giant Lance? If government wants something shrouded, it becomes buried. Quote, very often, all the activity of the human mind is directed not in revealing the truth, but in hiding the truth. Unquote. Leo Tolstoy. 1035-960 asserts an auspicious tactic for mitigating insurrection comes in the form of, quote, employing propaganda assets to answer and refute the attacks of the critics. Our play should point out, as applicable, that the critics are 1. Wedded to theories adopted before the evidence was in. 2. Politically interested. 3. Financially interested. 4. Hasty and inaccurate in their research, or 5. Infatuated with their own theories. Unquote. Document 1035-960 obviously outlined a catch-all procedure for defaming ideas deemed quote-unquote insurgent. How else can one explain the following? Quote, in private or media discussion not directed at any particular writer, or in attacking publications which may be yet forthcoming, the following arguments should be useful. No significant new evidence has emerged. Unquote. You haven't even heard impending expostulation, and already you've developed a strategy for discrediting it? How is that an objective search for the truth? What if further arguments appear valid? At that point, shouldn't you consider them a possibility and thus investigate them? Of course you should, if you were being impartial. But this document obviously isn't about being nonpartisan and uncovering reality. It's about the best way to suppress it. So, the next time you're providing a profusion of facts, and somebody tries to categorize you a, quote, conspiracy theorist, unquote, remind them that facts and theories couldn't be any more opposite. As you're doing so, give them the link to this audio chapter.